Hey everybody. In part one of this series, we talked about how left-wing outrage mob victims have started standing up against their harassers and attempting to hold them accountable. We covered the Gavin McInnes lawsuit. Today, in part two, we're going to talk about the Glen Allen lawsuit. As you're about to see, Glen Allen's 82-page, $6.5 million lawsuit goes into great detail about his harassment and the damages that were caused. With that said, let's talk about the big picture first. Then we'll dive into the lawsuit itself. As you're about to see, it looks like the conservative tide is rising, and their tolerance for left-wing bigotry is gone. According to PJ Media, leaders of Christian organizations the Southern Poverty Law Center unfairly labels as hate groups told PJ Media that a massive legal onslaught is headed toward the SPLC. And it can involve as many as 60 separate lawsuits in different states around the country. Rather than one big defamation suit, the left-wing attack dog will face a scattershot approach. What we're considering is not a class action lawsuit. Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel, a Christian nonprofit branded a hate group by the SPLC and currently suing the charity navigation site GuideStar, told PJ Media on Monday. These are individual lawsuits that we're looking at, not class action. He explained that the roughly 60 organizations considering the suit intend to make the SPLC defend itself all over the country. The people we're talking to are looking at individual lawsuits, could be up to 60, but definitely quite a number of cases, Staver explained. Then we fast forward to December 2018. In December, a Baltimore lawyer filed a devastating lawsuit against the Southern Poverty Law Center and two of its employees. The SPLC targeted Glen Keith Allen over his former ties to the National Alliance, a white nationalist group. In doing so, the liberal group allegedly violated laws and legal codes of conduct by receiving and then paying for stolen documents in violation of confidentiality agreements. The group went after Allen with the intent of getting him fired by the city of Baltimore and permanently destroying his future prospects. Perhaps, most importantly, the suit attacks the liberal group for undermining America's tradition of free expression. In an August 2016 interview with the Washington Post cited in the lawsuit, SPLC Intelligence Project Director Heidi Barich, a defendant in the case, claimed to have watched Allen like a hawk because he had the worst ideas ever created. This East Europe communist thought crime surveillance mentality is antithetical to fundamental American cultural and constitutional principles protecting freedom of expression and association, Allen wrote in the suit, which can be found on his website. His lawsuit uses concrete claims of lawbreaking and defamation to expose the SPLC's Orwellian strategy of branding its opponents hate groups and orchestrating campaigns against them. Now, let's talk about the lawsuit itself, and let's go ahead and take a look at the introduction. Again, this is an 82-page lawsuit, so I'm not going to touch on everything, but I think reading the introduction really encapsulates the allegations contained in the suit, and this is mainly because Mr. Allen actually puts his source material against the Southern Poverty Law Center in the suit itself. So anyone who's reading the suit can not only see Mr. Allen's allegations, but they can actually cross-reference those allegations and provide factual support to what he's saying independently of the lawsuit itself. My guess is that he did this so he could provide a trail of breadcrumbs for anyone else who might have been targeted by the Southern Poverty Law Center. So with that out of the way, let's take a look. Providence has endowed humanity with the ability to grow and change. Indeed, we have a moral obligation to grow and change as we learn new aspects of reality. At the pinnacle of the means by which we grow and change should be a robust dialogue, open debate, an aversion to taboos, and genuine conversation. This is the theory of our remarkable American traditions of free expression as embodied, among other ways, in the First Amendment. But there are also other approaches to inevitable human discord. One is to draw lines of political or cultural orthodoxy, develop massive surveillance networks and extensive dossiers, and to severely punish perceived transgressors who cross those lines, seem to cross them, or even seem to think about crossing them. Barich, Potok, and the SPLC, defendants in this case, have chosen this latter approach. Motivated by lucrative fundraising aims and employing fundraising techniques decried across the political spectrum as deceptive, the SPLC's avowed goal, under the leadership of Barrich, Potok, and others, is to destroy, through public shaming, loss of employment, loss of reputation, and other severe harms, groups and persons the SPLC broadly defines as its political enemies. Glen Allen, plaintiff in this case, is one of Barrich's, Potok's, and the SPLC's victims. The cause of free expression itself is another, for the SPLC has become one of the most effective voices in the country for stifling honest and robust debate on controversial issues. Barrich, Potok, and the SPLC are entitled to espouse their outlook forcefully. They are not entitled, however, to the following actions, all alleged and supported in this complaint: to receive, pay for, and use stolen documents, including confidential documents and documents protected by attorney-client privilege, to tortiously interfere with Allen's prospective advantage in employment, to defame him by publishing false statements that he was infiltrating the City of Baltimore's law department, or to masquerade as a 501c3 public interest law firm dedicated to a tax-exempt educational mission, when in reality, the SPLC fails the basic requirements for this favored status because of its illegal actions, including numerous instances of mail and wire fraud, multiple violations of canons of professional ethics, including improper disclosure of confidential and privileged documents, and failure to train its non-lawyer employees, orchestration of violations of the constitutional rights of the organizations and individuals it targets, and sensationalist supermarket tabloid-style, one-sided depictions of its victims. The reality is that Barrich, Potok, and the SPLC have perfected what the scholar Laird Wilcox, speaking of the SPLC, called ritual defamation, a way of harming and isolating people by denying their humanity and trying to convert them into something that deserves to be hated and eliminated. They accuse others of this, but utilize their enormous resources to practice it on a mass scale themselves. I'm kind of familiar with that myself, but moving on. See paragraph 21 of this complaint. In a moment of candor, Defendant Potok, the editor-in-chief of the SPLC's intelligence report, boasted, "We see this political struggle, right? I mean, we're not trying to change anybody's mind. We're trying to wreck the groups, and we are very clear in our head, we are trying to destroy them." And then they link to a website related to that statement, as well as they cite paragraphs 20 to 35 of this complaint. Barrich has similarly posted that the SPLC has been watching Allen like a hawk because, according to Barrich and the SPLC, he has, quote-unquote, the worst ideas ever. See paragraph 47 of this complaint. So here it is in the essence. Barrich, Potok, and the SPLC conducted lengthy and close surveillance on, plotted to destroy, and then did destroy Glen Allen, who was performing ethically and competently as an attorney for his adopted city of Baltimore, because Barrich, Potok, and the SPLC did not like what they thought was going on inside Allen's head. The defendant's destruction of Allen was highly effective, causing his termination as an attorney for the city of Baltimore and ravaging the reputation as an attorney he had achieved over decades by performing ethical and competent work, including substantial pro bono work for African Americans and others. For the reasons set forth below, accordingly, Allen requests legal redress. So there it is. Now, while the Gavin McGinnis lawsuit alleges some of the same facts, the outrage mob victim in this case is a legal professional. He's an attorney. And as such, Glen Allen goes into far greater detail than the prior suit covered in the last video. And if even half of these allegations are ultimately proven to be true, they're not only extremely damning, but they are potentially fatal to the SPLC as an organization. And my guess is that SPLC victims are going to continue to come out of the woodwork seeking accountability. And here's the thing. Even if only 30 of the 60 victims of the SPLC's outrage mob tactics come forward and hold them accountable, The SPLC is done. They just haven't realized it yet. This lawsuit is also a valid template and a clinic of how to sue people who outrage mob you and harass you and wrongfully defame you. I encourage everyone to download and read the entire thing. Because even though I covered the basics, this complaint, even more so than the last one, is well worth a full read. I'm DDJ, and this is your dose of misandry today.